Hi, I've been seeing a lot of videos on these electric lighters. Now I do have one. Mine actually has the light on the bottom. This is a plasma lighter. You see these. This is the Explorer. I'm not selling these. I'm not telling you to buy one of these. Most people that show these don't light anything. They go, oh, look how great, it's waterproof, water resistant. Now I don't know how waterproof this is going to be with this little light on the bottom. I've never dunked it in water, and I'm not going to. This is for an emergency use. Now to open these, of course, pull down here, flip. Now the button is here. Now this charges through a USB-C cable, not micro USB. This is a USB-C cable. And of course, so you see it working. Now, a lot of people say use these for survival. If you take one of these in the woods and this is your only way to start a fire, no offense, you're a fucking idiot. Always have more than one way to create a fire if you need it. In an emergency situation, great, fine. The thing is, since this takes a USB-C to charge this off a solar panel, you would need a very specific solar panel or some way to plug in a USB plug that comes with this. Let me show it to you. I'm sorry, I should have got that out first. This is a USB to USB-C. That's the plugs that come with these to charge these. Now, just like any other lithium battery, it will go down after time, just like any other battery. Now, when this lid is open, you definitely don't want to get this waterlogged in the water. It will screw it up. The only way this is watertight, and even then I'm not so sure with the little light on the bottom, is if this is closed. Now, I've seen people light stuff like dried leaves, things like that. What if you are out in the woods and you don't have dried leaves or anything like that? Can this actually light wood by itself? The answer to that is yes. If the wood has been dry, yes. If it's wet, it's iffy. Do not just rely on something like this to keep yourself alive. Now I'm going to show you a couple of little items you can carry with you if you want to. That's up to you. One is just regular wooden toothpicks. Just a regular wooden toothpick. A lot of people have these if they're camping, things like that. Now see that lights up? Now I have a sink full of water here, so I have to be careful with this. I cannot drop this in the water. If I do, this is going to be ruined. Let's say you're out camping or trying to survive. You took a little bit of food with you, but some of your stuff is wet, and you're just trying to get something lit on fire. Well, if you don't have things like toilet paper and paper towels, with this will ignite. Regular newspaper, it will ignite. If you're going to use that, bunch it up, roll it up like this, back and forth, and break those fibers up. It'll make it much easier to light with one of these. Alright, you don't have that. What about just a regular sour cream and onion potato chip? Now, it's not going to stay lit very long, but that'll help you light your fire. And I hope I don't set our smoke detector off. Now, I would be doing this outside, but it's really cold and it's been snowing, and I hate being cold. Wood. This is a piece of wood off of the wood I bought from Walmart in the big chunks for our wood stove. This is a small piece. The smaller the piece, the better it is, the easier it's going to light. Now this is not even that wide, but can it light something like this? Now what I would do is I would try to break this down as much as possible. Right here, if you're going to be in the woods, try to separate some of this, break it down, get it to where if it lights, it will hopefully catch. So, can you light wood on fire? Yes, with one of these you absolutely can. Now, I want you to really understand this. If the wind's blowing, if your wood is wet, that's a different story. Here I have another piece. Now, I'm going to break this down as much as I can, give it the best chance I can, which isn't much without, there we go, that's good enough. Now, let's see what it does with a wet piece of wood. Let's open this up. I'm going to dunk this in the water. Now, I don't know if you can see there. You see the water dripping? Now, if this overheats, it will shut down. It only stays on for a few seconds, and if it starts to go down the battery, it shuts down quicker. Now, you see, this is wet. This is doing absolutely nothing. Now, there's a little bitty, couple little threads more like on the end here. See that? So, if your wood is wet, no, it's not going to work. Now, normally what I do is I carry some type of tinder with me, something to start and light. So if my wood is wet, whether it be paper towels, toilet paper, things like that. One of the things I found that works really well, I have up there in a bag, which is dryer lint. Let me grab that. If I can find it. There's some in a bag right here. I've been putting my lint back out of my dryer. Remember, this wood is still wet. Now, in some cases, you may need more than this. Like I said, I'm trying to keep the smoke down in here. Dryer lint works really well if you have enough of it to actually catch. So it will catch your wood on fire. Now, this wood is wet. That's wet. Things like paper towels. If you want to use paper towels, make sure you like rough it up a little bit. Break them fibers up a little. Now, in a situation like this, if I had some wood that was wet like this, I would actually take my paper towel, stick it between the slash, push it down as far as I could go, close that a little bit, and wrap it around. Get as much of this as I could wrapped. Now, I'm not going to let this burn very long because my smoke detector will go off. Okay. Smaller pieces of wood, finer pieces of wood will light much easier. Stuff like this. If your wood is wet, you're going to have a hard time lighting it with one of these, unless you have something you can light to actually dry that wood out. So if you're relying on one of these, for a survival situation, you're a damn fool. You saw wood wet, small little piece, right? Now dry, sure. You know, let's give this the best chance. So let's light this piece. This is a very thin piece. Dunk it in the water just a little bit. Shake it off. See that? If it's wet, you have to have something else to light and burn to dry that wood out to get it to ignite. The smaller you have your pieces of wood, the easier it is for this to ignite it. And take it and go across the bottom, across the thinnest parts to get that to ignite. Okay. Can you use one of these for an emergency? Yeah, you can. Can you use a solar panel to charge it with? That's debatable. The small solar panels I have for my light bulbs are not USB-C. They are micro USB. So finding a solar panel to charge this with may be a little difficult. Now, of course, you have any way you have to charge this from a USB to USB-C, because this takes USB-C. This plugs into USB. So if you have something like a battery pack, a DC to AC power inverter with a USB port, even a solar charger controller with a USB port, you can charge this. But nobody on YouTube is actually taking these outside and saying, okay, I can light fire with it, campfire, this and that. You know, I've seen a lot of them that say camping, survival, but they don't show anything. They just take the lighter and go, oh, you do this, you open this, you flip this, you put that, there we go. I've seen a lot of videos like that. But in a survival situation, if your wood is wet, this is not going to work for you. You have to have something dry to ignite. Potato chips, paper towel, toilet paper, even clothing, you can light with this to get your wood to dry up, hopefully, and light your fire. But if you don't have something like that, look in your pockets. I mean, if you're out in the boonies and you get really cold, look in your pockets. See if you have a little bit of pocket lint that you can light on fire. If you have some certain types of food, anything that's really dry or some greasy foods will ignite on fire. Mostly like certain potato chips will light on fire, especially if it's really dry. But if you're out in the woods and this is all you have, you could be in trouble. Because by the time you get that wood, it's so small. Literally, the amount of electricity is so small. By the time you get that wood dry, this could be dead. You could have used your battery up. Now, once again, this does have a little flashlight on it, which is going to take away battery power. Can you light wood on fire with one of these? Yes. Can you build a campfire with one of these? Yes. It all depends on how your wood is cut, how it's broke down. If you have a huge, large chunk of wood, you're not going to light this, right there in the middle of the wood pile, the wood. If you have some type of smaller edge, absolutely, it will light. But don't just rely on one of these. Make sure you have a lighter, ferro rod, something that will ignite. In my case, I'd be pulling out my hair. If I was stuck in the middle of nowhere, I'd literally be either cutting my beard off here, cutting my hair off, putting it in there underneath the wood, lighting that hair on fire. See if I can find me a... There we go. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, I'm used to that. Anytime I get a long one, I just pull it out. Now, I don't know if you can see the puff there. It just poof, little flame. If you got enough hair, it won't just go poof. It will light. Whether it's cloth, paper towels, toilet paper. Just don't go out in the woods with something like this and rely on it to save your life. Always have a backup way. Matches, lighters. Because here's the thing. Even matches. Let's see. I don't have any matches out, but I do have a small piece of wood here. Let's say this is a match. I use it. The match goes out. The wind blows it out. Guess what? I have some small pieces of wood there. This dry. I can then use this to light the wood of the match. Make sure if this is open, you do not get it wet. Like I said, USB-C plugs in right here. Now these are pretty cheap. I think you can find these like under 15 bucks on eBay and Amazon. If I were to bug out, this is in my emergency kit up there with my fishing pole, candles, things like that. Yes, this will light candles. The one thing that drives me complete ape shit though is I see people saying you can light portable stoves with this. That is possible. Butane and propane. But before you try to do that, I want you to think about something. You're going to go light a propane or butane stove when your thumb is right there. Right there. What's going to happen when that ignites? It's going to go poof. Look how close my thumb is. So if you're wanting to light a butane or propane stove with this, don't. You can get burned because the gases can go up on your pot. It can escape it can just go poof. You know, if you put a match to one, what happens? It goes poof. Look how close your thumb is to that poof, that gas coming out. Let's say, let me grab something here. This is my stove, right? This is my girlfriend's sugar container actually. But here's the top of the stove where you have to light the stove. Look how close that is. Look how close my thumb is. So do not use one of these to light propane or butane stoves. Will this come in handy in an emergency? Absolutely. But everything I have mostly will come in handy for an emergency situation. If you want one of these, fine, buy it. But just know, if you're out in the woods, this is not going to light any type of wet or damp wood, wet leaves, things that are wet. Always have either a lighter or paper or something you can use to dry that wood out. Sticks, whatever. Let me grab something else. Here's my Q-tip. Not Q-tips, toothpicks. Now you've seen it light. Once again, water. Now I'm going to wipe it off on my pants and dry it off as much as possible. Now that's not super wet. It's pretty dry, so it might actually light. It's taking a bit, but it is doing it. And see that? That went out. It overheated. Your wood has to be dry, no water on it, for this to work. Now, I've seen a lot of people dunk these in the water. I'm not stupid enough to do that, because if this seal here or the seal here isn't sealing, you will run your lighter. Can you light wood? Alright, this has been in water. Let me grab this other piece. See that? Now, what happens if I try to dry this off and light it with no water? It may or may not light, since the wood is wet, but I'm going to give it the best chance possible. If you're out in the woods, you may not be able to wipe your wood off. It may just be downpouring rain everywhere. So you may have to try to figure something out. Cover it up, wipe it off with your shirt. I'm giving it the best chance. There's no water left on here. I don't feel any water. Now this would light with something like a lighter, a regular butane or propane lighter. Now that's where I had it lit before, so we're going to go for this end. You see the little Now, I have a lighter right here that I took out of my emergency kit. Now you can see the lighter is trying to light this. I don't know if you can see the little flame, but here's some coals right here. I don't want to hold this lighter down too much, it'll get hot. Well, you look at that. If your wood is wet and you don't have anything else to burn, to light it with, such as paper towel, toilet paper, some potato chips, whatever. If your wood is wet, this is not going to work for you. Always have a backup. Even if it's matches. Now, of course, this is not a match. But, let's say it was. Even if the match burnt out, you still have some wood there that you can light with this. You have to have some type of backup. Do not rely on this alone. Match burnt, goes out. Now you know, can you light a campfire with one of these? If your wood is dry, your tinder is dry, your leaves are dry, yeah, it's possible. In an emergency situation, if your wood is wet, the leaves are wet, no, it's not going to work for you. So I wish people would quit saying these are for survivalists or camping. Because honestly, I've already talked about this. Do you know what would happen if I took my Coleman stove, turned it on, and then went in like that to try to light that stove? I'd get second or third degree burns right here. So, you know, that's up to you. Now, I apologize. This is a long video. Now, I would have done this outside, but my dumb ass ain't going out when it's cold and snowing. I will do it in the house. I went outside to get some of the wood off of the piece of wood I have that I purchased from Walmart, the junk wood. And that was long enough for me to be outside. If I was in a bad situation, I would have 2 or 3 ways to light a fire. Lighters, matches. We have a flint magnesium fire starter, which is basically a ferro rod with magnesium. You scrape off the magnesium, you spark it with the spark, and the magnesium ignites. We have one of those. We have matches, lighters, regular lighters, Bic lighters. They're the best. They work the best. I actually have a car cigarette lighter, not for smoking or lighting cigarettes, that I can hook up to my solar panel, push that cigarette lighter in, and that thing will get hot and I can use it to light paper with. Don't just rely on one thing to keep you safe or keep you warm in an emergency situation. Yeah, one of these gets wet, it's gone until you dry it out. I'm not dumb enough to drop this in water. I don't know what it's going to do. And with that light on the bottom, if it doesn't seal perfectly, you just run your lighter. I don't know if the seal on the top is good. I'm not going to test this. Other people have tested these, but I don't know if they've tested the ones with the light on the bottom. For an emergency, sure. If you have dry wood or something that will light, even regular potato chips, Cheetos, sour cream and onion. Pringles actually don't burn that well, believe it or not. The sour cream and onion chips were the Walmart brand. Something that's dry that will ignite, that will catch your wet or damp wood on fire. This is not going to light wet or damp wood. You've seen it. So I wish people would stop saying, buy one of these for a survival kit. If you want to buy one, fine. Hey, whatever. I have one in my survival kit. But I also have matches and lighters. We have a flint and magnesium fire starter with a magnesium, a block of magnesium, and a ferro rod, a flint, on the other side. We have numerous ways to light fire. When people say survival, how many of you seen actually try to light wood, light a campfire, light anything other than dry leaves or paper towels or toilet paper? How many have actually lit wood? There's a reason. The wood needs to be in really small pieces and it needs to be dry. Alright, look, I apologize. This is another half-hour video. But I'm sick and tired of seeing people say how great these are. One, you are not going to light a campfire with this, with wet wood, damp wood. You need some type of dry tinder, something that will burn, something that will ignite. Two, do not be stupid enough to light your stove, propane or butane stove, with one of these. Look how close my thumb is to where it would have to ignite. If you want to get burned, go ahead. If you don't want to get burned, and if you have to ignite your propane stove that doesn't have an igniter, light a small piece of wood, light something. Light a paper towel and light it that way. Do not stick your hand with this near a wood or a propane or butane stove trying to light that. You will get burned. Alright, I'm fixing to go. I just wanted you to see there's a big difference between a regular lighter, even matches, and one of these electric lighter things. For a campfire, if everything is dry and perfect conditions, oh yeah, no problem. But if things are wet or damp, do not rely strictly on something like this to keep you alive. That's my 2 cents on this. Is it worth owning? Sure. Because my lighter can run out of fluid. My matches, once I strike them, they're dead. They're done. Now my flint and magnesium fire starter, it's only a small one. Sometimes it's hard to use, and sometimes when the wind's blowing, it's really hard to use. But I have a variety of ways to light a fire for an emergency. If the sun is out, I can even use an old car cigarette lighter on my solar. Don't rely on one thing. I apologize for the length of the video, but do not fall for the hype. Yeah, I do own one. Let's see if I can, maybe that'll help. I apologize. I should have had that light on the whole time. Look how close In fact, my thumb's sticking up over where the prongs are here to push down to ignite that. That's an accident waiting to happen if you're trying to light a gas stove with one of these. Is it worth having? To me it is. Will it be worth it to you? I don't know. But now you know your wood has to be dry. Even if it's damp, this has a really hard time with it. This works much better. Alright, that's it. I apologize, 36 minutes. I am going this time. I do not sell these. I do not recommend these if you're going to think this is going to keep you alive in a super bad situation. Unless the wood is dry, or you have something to light like paper towels or toilet paper or newspaper or magazines, books, something this will light the paper, don't rely strictly on one of these. Do not. And that was upside down. Alright, I'm fixing to go. Thanks for watching. Everyone have a good day or night. Bye.